time I want to show you some of the new usability features that we implemented recently, and those features are thematically grouped around three big topics. The first topic is called context awareness, the second is called assistance, and the third is called navigation. So the first feature from the feature group called context awareness is mark occurrences. Now, people who are used to developing Java applications with Eclipse might know the button that you find up here in the menu bar of Eclipse, which is called toggle mark occurrences. And once you activate that button, the current editor becomes a little more context aware. So whenever you select one of the identifiers in your source code, all other occurrences of that identifier in the same source file are being highlighted automatically. For instance, if I select the attribute children destructor here, you see that the other appearance of that identifier, namely down here, is also highlighted. And that, of course, does not only work in object model files or static files, but also in expressions where you get highlighting for your local variables, as you can see here, or for your object classes, or for almost all identifiers that you can define in your WebDucx project. The second feature in the group of context awareness is our all-new refactoring. With this new refactoring mechanism in WebDucx, you can rename any identifier that you defined in your project consistently throughout the entire project, regardless of its appearances. So, for instance, if I want to rename the class logbook here, I can either use the context menu rename element or the keyboard shortcut Alt-Shift-R. Now you can see I can immediately type the new name for this object class right here, call it maybe only book. And by pressing the downwards arrow here, I can open a preview dialog that immediately analyzes the entire project, finds all occurrences of this identifier, and tries to replace the old identifier by the new one. And within the preview, you can see that all occurrences of this identifier, so of the name logbook, are consistently being replaced throughout the entire project, regardless of where this identifier occurs. So also within expressions, within the user interface files, within your use cases, within your unit tests, everywhere throughout your project the identifier is being consistently renamed. See that also within the WebDucx ranging files, those changes are propagated, and of course also in your multi-language names. And by pressing OK, you accept this change, your project is being rebuilded, and your identifier has been consistently renamed. The second feature group that I want to show you is called navigation. Now, the features within that group try to enable you to navigate faster through large projects by providing features like the breadcrumb that you see up here, or a find references feature. The first thing that I want to show you is how this breadcrumb thing up here works. So whenever you change the selection in the current editor, you see that the breadcrumb is automatically being updated. That also works, for instance, in use case files within applications or implementations. And now you see that our selection is somewhere within the implementation of that use case, and the breadcrumb shows us the path from the file to the point where we are right now. So the current use case is implemented on two classes, namely logbook and triplog, and has some parameters, all of which you find here in the breadcrumb. And by clicking one of those identifiers, we automatically navigate to the definition of that part of your source code. It also works out here when you have all the use cases that are defined in the current file. You can navigate from one to another, and also navigate directly to the implementation of that use case. And the second feature around here is called find references. For instance, in the object model file, I can select an identifier like trip here, and activate find references from the context menu, which brings up a search result dialog in Eclipse that shows me all occurrences of that identifier, or all places where I used that object in my entire project. So for instance, the struct trip is being used here as the type of attributes. It is being used somewhere in the user interface, and it is being used in various places in expressions in my use case files. So the third group of features that I want to show you is called assistance. The features within that group try to actively assist you when writing your source code. The first thing that I want to show you is the content assist. So here we are in an object model file, and if I'm unclear what I can do from here at that point where my cursor is currently, I can press Ctrl space and immediately get the information from app.ducx what possibilities I have here. For instance, I could create a new object class, I could create a new object class with a defined base class, with a meter class, and so on. I could create an enum definition, a struct definition, and so on and so on. Now as a sample, I want to create an object class with a base class. By pressing enter, I accept this template, type the name of the object class, and by pressing tab, I can navigate to the next placeholder here within this template. Now the base class, for the base class I can again press Ctrl space and get an overview of all object classes that I could use in that context. Now in our project I want to derive my new class from the class logbook, which is defined here within my project. By pressing enter, I accept that, and by pressing tab again, the cursor gets placed within the class body, from where I can continue implementing my class. Again, by pressing Ctrl space, I can define things like if that is a common class, if it is derivable, and so on. You can also create new attributes with this with the content assist by pressing Ctrl space and then starting to type integer. For instance, I get the possibility to create a new integer attribute, and so on. The third and last feature in the assistance group are our new quick fixes that allow you to automatically correct typing errors and little issues within your project. For instance, if I mistype logbook up here, then I immediately get an error message because logbook could not be resolved. And by selecting, moving the mouse pointer over logbook, I get information about how I could resolve this error. The first possibility would be to change it to logbook, because the app.ducx plugin knows that there is a class called logbook, of which the name is quite similar to what we typed. So it offers to change the name to that. By activating that, the error immediately disappears. The other possibility would be to create a new class called logbook, because app.ducx at that point knows that you can that at this point only object classes are valid. So app.ducx allows you to create a new object class with that name if you want to. You can do that either in a new object model file or in one of your existing files. Another interesting thing here is the handling of unresolved references regarding imports. For instance, if I want to derive from folder, then app.ducx knows that there's an object class called folder which exists in software component CODESK, but CODESK is currently not imported in my source file. So it allows me to automatically add the import or fully qualify the identifier here. Of course, I could also choose to create a new class called folder, again in one of my existing files or in a new file.